So this week is Alcohol Awareness Week, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about that, because if you are suffering from menstrual symptoms or having problems with your fertility, alcohol is definitely something that you should consider, and how much of an impact that might be having towards the symptoms that you are having to put up with. So where to start? Alcohol is such a tangled web, what it does to your body, and everything is so connected. So let's just start with the high sugar content. Okay, so the high sugar content in the alcohol is going to have a massive effect on your insulin resistance, which then in turn has a massive effect on your adrenals and your liver. And before you know it, you are in this picture where you aren't creating the right amount of sex hormones, you've not got enough progesterone to outbalance the rising levels of estrogen, and you get into this situation where you are in what's known commonly as estrogen dominance. So where your progesterone and estrogen should balance like yin and yang, you end up like this with estrogen so much higher. And that causes all sorts of problems. So if you are getting very painful, heavy periods, painful breasts, lots of PMS, lots of PMT, then you'll probably fit into that category. You might struggle with your weight, and then you end up in this vicious circle, because the more weight you put on, the more fat cells you have, and fat cells will cause more estrogen to be produced. So that's just one thing from alcohol. The other thing is the disruption that happens on your microbiome. So because it's so high in sugar and it's a fermented product, that's going to have a direct effect on feeding the wrong kind of bacteria in your gut, and the yeast and the fermentation is all going to add to the complex outnumbering of bad yeasts compared to like the small amount that you should have going on in there. And it's also going to have an effect on what you absorb. And that's not just because of the gut microbiome imbalance, but alcohol depletes zinc. In fact, it's been found that many people who are actually alcohol dependent are really low in zinc. It can actually lead you towards needing alcohol. And then you end up in this vicious circle. Alcohol taking away the zinc, lack of zinc making you want more alcohol. Now, the reason is because your stomach acid has gone so low. It's also very depleting for zinc in other ways as well. But if your stomach acid has gone low, you're also not absorbing iron, magnesium, all your minerals as well as you should be. And all of those things are vital for developing your little ovums to grow properly and to expel out of the ovary in what we know as ovulation. So zinc is really important, and B vitamins for that process and for having really healthy follicles. So that's another reason why it's not good. Many people who are craving alcohol, and that includes people who have alcohol dependency issues, are not actually craving the substance of alcohol itself as much as they believe. A lot of it is to do with a blood sugar imbalance, and they're craving the sugar because their insulin system is all messed up. So there is a genuine dependence on the drug of the alcohol, but a large part of the cravings can be like akin to when you're really craving chocolate, but on a massive scale. So your blood sugar's just totally messed up, you're depleted of your nutrients, and you're trying to get that intake from elsewhere. So just something that is really interesting that involves the men in your life as well. Alcohol is not just a detrimental effect on women's fertility, but there's been studies with IVF couples, and they measured a woman having one or more drink a day through the IVF process. It beats me why. I know they have to do this for medical science, but why they would do this with IVF people who have struggled so much to have a baby and then put them in this situation beats me. But I guess they have their reasons. Anyway, so they gave women one or more, or they let women have one or more drink a day, and the woman was then twice as likely to miscarry. But that's not the half of it. A man that they gave 1 or more drinks of a day of alcohol, he was 38 times more likely to have a female partner or somebody carrying an embryo that would miscarry. Trying to be not gender stereotypical there, but not quite knowing what word to use. Anyway, so the main point of that is that the sperm can be massively affected. Now, if you've had an NHS sperm test, it's not as thorough as some of the ones that you can have done privately. So they'll test your sperm count and they'll test motility, but there's other things that can be tested that don't show up on the NHS test. So my main point is alcohol and what the man is eating as well has a massive effect on the quality of the sperm. So it can also affect the actual implantation into the womb. So the egg has been fertilized, which happens in the uterine tubes, so the fallopian tubes coming down from the ovary heading to the uterus. And then very often the woman won't even know she actually had a fertilized egg because the implantation process has been impaired. And there's numerous amounts of studies to show that alcohol does that. So just getting off the fertility and the menstrual problems train of thought for a second. If you drink a lot of alcohol, and by a lot I just mean a regular amount every week, you are so much more at risk of developing cancers. And there's many reasons for that as well. One of them is that ethanol, the actual molecule of pure alcohol, has to be broken down. And it gets broken down in a detoxification process to something called acetaldehyde. I can never get my teeth around that. Now this component, this molecule, is a carcinogenic. That means it can and will cause cancers. And certain people are more prone to that happening to them depending on their DNA history. So for example, people in East Asia have a different genetic response to how ethanol and acetaldehyde get transformed, and the rates of pancreatic cancer are much higher because of alcohol in East Asian people. So there's all sorts of reasons why alcohol is bad for you, but obviously it's lockdown, people are having more and use it as a relaxation, as a comfort. I would just say, if that is you, then just consider what it is that's making you reach for the bottle or reach for the glass of wine, and try and distract yourself, try and do something else, and try for definite to keep your units down to less than what the NHS in England recommend. And that is the same for men and women at the minute, 14 units. So I mean, I wouldn't personally go anywhere near that. I know from my own fertility journey, I only ever managed to get pregnant after 3 months of totally taking alcohol out. If you're trying for a baby, that should be gone long ago. And it might just help you on your journey in conception, removing alcohol, for all the reasons I've talked about and more. So that's it. I don't want to be a lecturer, you know, but it's National Alcohol Awareness Week. So just have a look at your habits. How could you change? Don't buy it in bulk. That's one good thing. That's one good idea. So don't go out and buy 20 cans or the big boxes, or, you know, 6 bottles of wine, because then you never run out. And you can always go and get one out of your cupboard. Just maybe have a little ritual where you can enjoy a glass of wine with a nice meal, light a candle or something, rather than it just being the go-to way of relaxation. So it's hard, guys. When I cut it out, I know how hard it is, but I also know the clarity that I developed after I stopped drinking nearly 10 years ago, apart from the occasional tipple I have now and again. The clarity and the health that was restored, it's massive. I mean, your nutrient intake alone will go up. So, and your blood sugar levels will stabilize more. So, food for thought. Okay, bye.